Today, we have a massive rabbit hole that we need to snoop down, and it is about an artist that has a lot alleged against them. And this was actually somebody that I was planning to make a video about a while ago, and then it just kind of got lost in the sauce. But there was a document that came out, so let's delve into this entire and messy situation about an artist named Choco And again, please don't send hate to any parties involved. So, the big thing to kind of kick this story wide open again is a post made by this user who writes Choco and Nyanya QE has been tracing AI across many alt accounts. From fraud to harassment and doxing, here's how to spot similar accounts that are selling traced commissions. And this is the artist in question, named Choco who allegedly has a bunch of aliases they go under. This has been an artist that has been talked about in the art space for a while now. There have already been a lot of posts circulating dating back years talking about how their art and process was a bit suspicious, and that it seems like they rely on more than just human art to go and create it. So the doc is titled Choco the Russian fraudster charging up to $700 for traced AI commissions under multiple identities. And we'll delve into the identities. But the summary essentially is that Choco has multiple Twitter and Patreon accounts, all pretending to be different people when it's the same person, harassing other people, doxing them because they're accusing or calling Choco out for using generative AI. And the intention with this document is to raise awareness of AI tracing fraud commissions and how time lapses are not definitive proof that somebody is not tracing. There is a long list of allegations. And here is the list of multiple accounts that allegedly Choco runs. Note this account named Mashiro WWW. This is an account that we've actually talked about before, where, if I remember, I'll link the video down below. Essentially, Mashiro was under a lot of scrutiny for their artwork looking AI generated. And when confronted with it, Mashiro's excuse was, I use an AI upscaler to make my art look better. Except their before and after looked really different. So the doc adds that again, the intent is to make clients aware of how to spot AI tracing so you don't get deceived. They also add some people are saying things like, oh, but if they like the final product, then like, what's the issue? Well, you can like the final product, but also not like the process that it was arrived at, you know? But like an example would be like diamonds, you know? You look at a diamond and some people could be like, wow, really like the way the diamond looks, and then not like how the diamond is farmed and choose to go the lab grown route instead. Just an example, but sometimes the process is the problem. The doc also adds that a lot of these accounts have no AI in their bio, deceiving potential clients by implying they don't use AI. In fact, a lot of these accounts have no AI in their bio. Again, it's one of those trust me bros, just because an account says they don't use AI doesn't mean they actually are not using AI. A lot of times they just lie. Again, if you go shopping for bags and they're like, yep, this Gucci bag is definitely legit. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. It then adds that a lot of the screenshots were taken from Telegram because Choco uses Telegram a lot. And again, this document is showing all the translations, but they do also provide a link if you want to verify the post because Choco writes a lot of the post in Russian. Choco also states that this whole document allegedly is fabricated, where the doc writer writes, I have to clarify my goal is to not cancel Chocopi or anybody else mentioned. The focus is entirely on art clients becoming more aware of art tracers. Art accounts like Chocopi mislead people while charging clients hundreds of dollars for commissions when the work they delivered is traced. So here we have a couple gifs of Chocopi's drawing process, which again deceives people into making them think that it's actually hand-drawn. Because if you don't know anything about art and you're like, okay, well, I know there's like AI scammers, oh, but I can see this person drawing, so there's no way they're scamming. That's not always true. So the document adds that Chocopi has two Telegram accounts, a main art account and a shitpost account, where allegedly the shitpost account, she's blatantly claiming and confirming that she uses AI and then goes private every time people call her out. This is actually the craziest part because in almost every single case where we have these stories of like an AI artist, AI tracer, they never actually claim they use AI. They never actually talk about it. They always deny it to hell and high water. And it's always like, oh, well, I used an upscaler, or you're falsely accusing me for no reason. On Chocopi's shitpost account, they write, there will be no proof because I have 20 years of experience. I have been drawing since I was born with an AI in my arms. And of course, I have a 50 IQ. Another post says, I will trace AI until your grandparents come of age. This was posted September 7th, 2025. So now we get into a section talking about Chocopi's multiple accounts. Allegedly, the aliases are Chocopi Art, Miichi111, Mashiro WWW, UJ9P, Miichi20, Lava Idol, Lava Deal, and Kira Yu. All these accounts allegedly belonging to the same person. Again, Mashiro we've actually talked about on this channel. So the first indication is the signature. All these account signatures look the same, using a font called Paragraph that is not pre-installed on Windows. Windows. This obviously means that like you would have to go out of your way to install it. There is a chance they all coincidentally like using the same fonts, or it's something a little more nefarious. Also, notes the Miichi account, by the way, is LARPing. And a lot of people also, I realize, don't know what the word LARPing is. LARPing just means like pretending. So the Miichi account is pretending to be Chocopai's sister, aka probably Chocopai pretending to be their own sister. Also, I just want to add the amount of effort that Teru put into making this doc is honestly wild. This is the Miichi20 account, the NSFW account for Miichi, right? So Miichi says, I have no connection with these people. This is referring to Chocopai and Mashiro. And then Teru found this other post from the NSFW account that says, I'm pleased to be compared to my sister in reference to Chocopai. And then Miichi doubles back because they realize they're, caught in a lie. And they're like, oh, what my sister does have nothing to do with me. You first claim you have no connection with these people. You're going to be like, I have no connection with my sister. I know some people have bad relations with their family, but like, you clearly don't have bad relations if you are pleased to be compared to your sister that you look up to. So the Miichi account in like October was undergoing some AI scrutiny. People looking at their account being like, yo, some shit don't look right here. And Miichi made this giant paragraph talking about how they don't use AI and they're being falsely accused. And they're claiming they're a real artist. They're claiming they can provide Photoshop files and layers for their artwork. And they linked a Google Drive. The Google Drive was an account named Nympha Tien, which first off has an AI profile photo, so that's not really clearing your name very well. But also there's an Instagram account called Nympha Tien, which links to a DeviantArt account. And the DeviantArt account links to a Pixiv account. And that Pixiv account links to the Lavadiel account. So that's how everyone ties back together. Some more proof. You can see the Lavadiel account. You can see the previous usernames. Lavadiel, Kira Yoop, and Nympha Tien. Isn't Kira Yoop also one of the Twitter accounts that looks like it's using AI? Also, the Nympha Tien Twitter account used to have the username UIIJ9P, one of the other accounts. And they're all linked together because here is the UII account with the Patreon link for Lavadiel. All these accounts also look at the art style. The art style is extremely similar with the style of rendering. All these art accounts also follow each other. And these are the commission prices. They charge a good pretty penny for their commissions. Here, $700 for a full body. The Mashiro account charged $253 for some reason for a full body. So that's why it becomes even more relevant when we start talking about the situation of them tracing and scamming, allegedly, with AI. Because you're paying this much money for artwork you're expecting to be hand-drawn by the artists with their skills and talents. The document highlights the MO for these accounts, the typical behavior. It's a new Twitter account with no previous art history, or if there is art history, they have an almost impossible, massive jump in skill. Any AI comments? Hidden, and they refuse to provide proof. And if they do provide proof, it looks super skeptical. And they are extremely, extremely defensive. Beyond just these guys, you'll just see like all of these sort of AI scammers engage in the exact same behaviors. So here's an example of the before and after, right? September 2024, we have this piece. They're clearly good at hair and face rendering. The anatomy, a little bit scuffed with like the shoulders and stuff, but that's totally fine. It's completely okay to have a little chopped anatomy. That's all completely normal. But then poof, here's February 2025, right? Where suddenly the body anatomy becomes absolutely perfect. And they're super, super good at suddenly drawing real big, busty women. Hey, no shade, no tea if that's what you like to draw. There's a disclaimer added here, which I also want to second as well. The disclaimer basically adds, 1, everybody improves at different rates. 2, if you have a rapid jump, doesn't automatically mean you're using AI. If you see somebody with a rapid jump, don't automatically accuse them of using AI. But, all these people conveniently improve, right, when the LLMs started getting real popular in like 2023, 2024. Convenient with that timing, and it's also always with like the really curvy anime girls. But again, this is just one example, right? This on its own is not indicative necessarily of AI. So Chocopai joined Twitter June 2024. In 2024 on Telegram, a lot of people already felt really, really suspicious with Chocopai speed paints. This is one of the speed paints that is kind of an example, and it looks really traced. You can take a look right now, and if you're not an artist, the reason why it looks really suspicious is that Chocopai is drawing as if they know exactly where everything belongs. But typically with most artists, you don't immediately know exactly where everything is going to be. You're going to have to resize things. You might have to sketch some things out. Maybe you have to make the eyes a little bigger or smaller, whatever. But somehow Chocopai instantly knows exactly where everything is. And even professional artists will do some reworking, resizing, whatever. And you don't see Chocopai do any of that. Again, there are some artists that can draw like this, but it is so extremely rare and very, very unheard of. Alongside the fact that this ChocoPie account has basically no previous art history to see. Here are some other speed paints that also look really suspicious. This one was Asami Arts, which we've also already talked about, and people basically already really determined that Asami Arts has used AI. Where again, you see the same thing. They know exactly where everything goes. No base sketch, nothing. Sorry, I had to evict my chunky cat. He was eating fake flowers behind my monitor again. So the doc adds that people noticed that ChocoPie was taking other artists' work and running it through AI. So here we have an original art piece by an artist named Bachel. This is ChocoPie's work. Why does it look literally exactly the same? Another side-by-side, this one is by an artist named Shiro Rina, whose account is now deleted. Why is this once again basically the same piece? Take my homework, but don't copy it, okay? And the doc alleges this was done through image processing, or image to image, where basically you give the AI an image and you generate another one. This is what was advertised from the Telegram bot's own documentation. And you can also give the bot prompts so that you can modify the output, which this is such like nasty theft of people's artwork to put an artist's art piece into AI and be like, oh, do this, but like make it look a little different. So the document adds a recollection from another Russian artist who says, according to ChocoPie, she asked the artist for permission to use the idea by sharing screenshots in a Telegram group, which was followed by my own post in that group. But she didn't do this until nearly a week later. Before that, it seems she was too proud to speak up, and we kept quiet about it as if nothing happened. So you can see here, this was the art piece, right? December 29, 2024, which was when it was posted. 2 months later, ChocoPie gave credit. You don't give credit for a redraw 2 months later. Come on, that shows that you didn't want to give credit and you probably got caught somewhere. And then was like reluctantly, okay, fine. ChocoPie allegedly was also really toxic. So here's some translated screenshots, alleged screenshots, right? Where they say, you're all just scum, let each of you be humiliated. It would be a joy for me. I only use the color picker from AI and get my style inspo from a certain neural network on Twitter. I have lots of orders. And what about you? You're a poor piece of crap from an anonymous forum who's afraid to show their face. So also in that, we have them allegedly admitting to using AI. So ChocoPie allegedly doxed another artist who isn't going to be named, but essentially the artist left Telegram, deleted everything, and it ended up leading to the relatives' cards being blocked, fake bomb threats, attempt to get them fired, signing them up for bogus job interviews, and more. And then ChocoPie left 2 really toxic voice messages. The first one reads, I'm so effing sick of it, seriously. Everywhere I go, when I post something on an artist page, I write something to the artist, and these outsiders show up, or some random people who heard about it, but who knows what they actually heard. Like, oh, here comes this chick. What does she want? Go F yourselves. You're so effing annoying. Because of these bees, other people think I'm exactly what they say I am. I just don't have the energy for this anymore. Seriously. They're spreading some kind of misinformation and it's really getting on my nerves. I'm seriously going to post a thread like this once I get popular with threats to me on the anonymous board. How they're calling me out as a Yiddish speaker. It's going to be such a mess. I'm going to lay it all out in one post, tag every single one of these bees so everyone knows. Whomever the F supports all this, fuck them. Why the F do they have the right to like F with my mental health, my effing life, to incite people? Well, to basically get people to harass me? F them. They'll get it 100 times worse. And then the other one says, quote, F, my whole life's goal is to strangle these little, this is the slur for gay people, the F word, one day. Just smack and they're gone. They've pissed me off so much, I can't take it anymore. Not much extra information was provided about the doxing because a lot of people were scared, rightfully so, if this user has a very vindictive bone in their body. But a lot of people were kind of vouching for the fact that the doxing did happen. So, whose art is actually being used by ChocoPie to generate these images? Well, the doc alleges that it's stolen from an artist named Croquette. So this is Croquette's artwork. You can see it's very anime, but kind of like a little bit of a painterly, more waterly style with like the color choices and the blending. Really, really pretty. And here are AI-generated versions. AI-generated, and this is ChocoPie's artwork. And the doc also adds that, you know, without extra proof, you could maybe assume ChocoPie was inspired by this artist. So here we have some more proof. It adds, there is an unprecedented skill jump within a year, particularly after 2023. I want to add again, the skill jump on its own, not necessarily a red flag, but you often see the skill jump coincidentally coincide with when generative AI became popular, especially LLM models that allowed you to really specify on taking one person's art style. So here, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. It's very stylized, but it doesn't look anything like the way their art looks currently. And this sort of like art progress looks really normal. Apparently there's no 2023 artworks, which is interesting. The doc also adds that it is, again, possible to super grind, improve within a year, but ChocoPie had written a meme writing that in 2023, they had a really big art block. So Choco Pie then goes to Twitter, and English Twitter didn't know about Choco Pie's whole history in the Russian Telegram community with all of these accusations already happening, but people started noticing that there's some AI-esque oddities in their artwork. They are Mashiro, but we've talked about the Mashiro account before, and the Mashiro account had a lot of AI-looking elements and artifacts in their art pieces, and so does the Choco Pie account. In fact, their art styles look identical, like these sort of elements on the clothing. So Choco Pie, again, for extra deception, they have no AI in their bio. And they literally have a post talking about how they're getting so much hate. This was posted February 3rd, 2025, being like, I've recently been accused of using AI and huge hatred in my direction. Boo-hoo, woe is me. It's a lot of like, I am the victim, poor me. You know, and again, if you are falsely accused of using AI and you genuinely didn't do it, that is extremely, extremely frustrating. But, you know, we already got screenshots of this person claiming they used AI on Telegram. Like, if you don't do something, why would you claim you do it? If you don't use AI, I would be hard pressed to find an artist who doesn't use AI go around claiming they do use it. Because literally, why would you do that? So Choco Pie had this post. And within this post, they had this speed paint, where this is a Procreate speed paint. So again, they could be tracing a hidden layer that we don't know about. But looking at the speed paint, you know, they're dropping the sketches. The sketches look pretty legit. Then they start getting into the line art, and then we see them rendering. So yeah, overall, the speed paint looks pretty legit. And again, it really kind of seems like, you know, after their first time lapse, they realize, oh, okay, I have to change it up because if I draw without modifying anything, people are going to know that I'm tracing something. So then, because Russian artists pointed out that Choco Pie's time lapses weren't evidence that she was, you know, not tracing. Because again, in Procreate, you can hide layers. She had an 11-minute long time-lapse video of her drawing. And you can see, you know, oh, it doesn't look like she's tracing. So what is wrong? Allegedly, she actually is tracing, except she's doing AR tracing. So here we can watch part of the video of Choco Pie drawing. We can see they're kind of flipping the canvas, you know, drawing the nose, sketching in the face. They also started the video with handcuffs on, and they put the handcuffs here. One thing that I always think is really interesting, and maybe it's like limited recording ability, I don't know. But I'm just so confused as to why these people like never show their full tablet or their full screen or their full monitor. Something is always getting cropped out, you know what I mean? We just can't see the full tablet for some reason. I always just think that's very interesting because in almost every single case where we see somebody who posts a speed paint of them not tracing or not using AI, it's never the full screen. And then later they get exposed for actually using AI. But one thing I find weird here is what in the world is the pulsing? Like, look right here, okay? Do you see that? Like, the eye color starts pulsing in and out. It looks like one of those, like, start bar icons that's like, hey, click me, you got a notification in Discord. Your Procreate doesn't do this. How in the world is that happening in your speed paint? Again, all of these, like, AI tracer speed paint proof videos, they always coincidentally have little glitches, bugs, and errors that literally nobody ever has seen in their life except for them. But oh, what are the odds that it happened to them? You know, they are the one person that experienced the fading eyelash line art. This isn't the argument of like, oh, well, maybe like the phone brightness is going up and down because other parts, like the whole sketch would get lighter. It's somehow only the eyes. Like, you just don't see it happen with everything else. They basically just do a bunch of sketches. We don't actually see them fully render out anything. But you see here again, like, the colors are completely going in and out on this. Like, again, I don't know what phone they have. Phone cameras are actually pretty damn good, and they're pretty good at keeping colors consistent. There are other cameras that are pretty, like, notorious for having color issues. I have a Sony, and they do have a tendency to blow the whole colors green for some reason. I love my Sony cameras, don't get me wrong, but they just do that sometimes, you know? The phones typically are actually pretty good at color consistency. But anyways, The document alleges that they use a technique called AR tracing to actually trace AI, where they use an app to trace by elevating their phone. So here they have their phone like above the paper, lower the image opacity in their phone so they can use it as a tracing guide. And the phone back camera is recording the paper while you're tracing. And holy crap, I didn't even know that was a thing. But basically the doc adds that this just goes to show that time lapses are not something that you can just definitively take as proof. And personally, I agree. There are many, many ways to scam time lapses. If you see my YouTube channel, I've covered many, okay? There was one where the person actually had the line art done and they actually just used the eraser tool and just slowly erased away. They made a white layer on top of the line art and just slowly erased it away so you could see the line art appear. There was this situation with Asami Arts who had a speed paint, except she had a really, really faint like green layer beneath it she was tracing and she chroma keyed the green out. I made a complete video about her. Again, if I remember, I'll put it down below. But you can see, literally open up the freaking color selector. You can see all the green is like gone. See, look, all the dark colors completely edited out here. And then the green, you can see the green, it's now gray. But later in the video, when she does the coloring, the green is suddenly vibrant green again when she opens up the color wheel again. So it can be scammed. So now we have the Glorpy Miku controversy. So this was a fan art of Miku that was made by an artist named Diariku. Chocopai's artwork of this went really viral. And then everybody was like, wait a sec, this kind of looks like AI. Diariku was then made aware of the AI situations and Chocopai played ultimate victim. I provided you with a stage of work and clean line work. I'm really tired of having to prove this. I understand your concerns, but please understand me too. I've been bullied from some time on the social network where I started posting my work. I've already provided all the proof, including speed paints, but nothing's changed. It's come to the point they're looking for my address. I was already tired of living trying to prove something because it's useless. And I switched to Twitter in the hope that at least I'm safe here. But this was a lie. Here in Telegraph DMs between Chocopai and a user named Maria or Nyanya Kui, which is Chocopai's friend, who is allegedly also a tracer. Ton618 is allegedly Nyan, who is Maria. Maria is giving advice on how to get away with this. You know, be careful. I think it's a good idea to play the ultimate victim so that when you have proof, you have a group of people saying, oh, poor artist was unfairly accused. And then, oh, can you say something about the hate that you've been getting for a long time and that people have been doxing your address and that you went to Twitter to try to escape bullying? Maria went and wrote that reply being like, oh, here's like a version. And then Chocopai's like, ooh, excellent. I think I'll send that now. And then they said, please like this post as if I were a defenseless Omega. Then Chocopai continues to play victim, talking about daily harassment they received, talking about work being stolen. And then here is another really massive 4-paragraph essay about how much they are a massive victim, how their stuff is being stolen, how they're being falsely accused for AI and they've never used AI, and that they're just trying to draw the way that they like, and that this is my life. Stop accusing me of things I didn't do. I just don't have the strength anymore. Stop bullying me. It's really terrible and disgusting. Live your life. There was 4 paragraphs of this, by the way. I just gave you like the TLDR. And then Chocopai turned around and then went and traced over an art piece that Diariku drew. This is Diariku's art piece on the bottom. And then Chocopai turned around and then traced a commission that Diariku got. So this was a commission Diariku received. The original artist is Kuno MD, and this was Chocopai's art. Somebody called you out for using AI, which you did allegedly do, and you're mad they called you out. So you turned around and stole some artwork they commissioned? What the? So now we get into trace time lapses. So here we have more time lapses of Chocopai's, where now she's added the light direction ball in the corner. It kind of feels like it's like a Pokemon, you know, gotta catch them all. Like, you gotta collect every single thing that artists do to try to reduce as much suspicion as possible. But then people found out that, wait a sec, this is the original image that Chocopai was tracing, which is an AI-generated image. And if you overlay the two, the eyes match. So does the nose and the cheek. Other parts are a little bit different, like the ear, but you don't accidentally get multiple features of the face really lining up one-to-one, and alongside the hair and the rest of the piece and the braid looking that similar. So Chocopai has traced a lot, and for paid commissions. Here's a whole bunch of commissions that Chocopai has done, again, claiming no AI, and they were selling your character here's on Toy House. By the way, the scamming goes even further. Somebody paid $100 and won an auction for your character here November 16th, 2024 that was hosted by Chocopai. And then 3 months later, they got 0 response. So they hit up Chocopai to be like, yo, so where's my commission? You know, where did it go? And Chocopai had said, you know, oh, it was going to take like 2 to 3 months. February 2025, they were like, yo, so what about the commission though? And Chocopai is like, oh, sorry, I lost access to the Toy House. What commission do I owe you? July 26, 2025, they were still waiting for the commission. And now the client still hasn't received a refund. It kind of feels like ChocoPie has a list of like all the art scams you possibly can do. And it's just like running down the list, putting other artworks into AI to generate it, image to image prompting to go get art pieces for yourself. Check. Vindictively trace other people's artwork as a fuck you to somebody that you don't like, even though you're the one at fault. Check. Not delivering on commissions that people have paid you for after years with no refund. Check. Tracing artworks. Check. So July 27th, 2025, ChocoPie retired from art and was claiming that, oh, they're probably going to debut as a VTuber in 2026. So now we're going to get into the story of all of the alt accounts. Again, we have Lava Idol, Miichi's 2 accounts. We have Mashiro, which we've also talked about on this channel before, Kira Yoop, and the UII account. Honestly, the amount of work that was put into making this document is astounding. I am thoroughly impressed. We have a full timeline where we have Lava Idol joining Twitter, November 2021. And again, remember in the beginning, we've already seen all the proof of these accounts belonging to the same person, ChocoPie. But then we have Miichi joining, and they all suddenly start, joining and becoming active all around the same time around spring, summer 2025, with the exception of Lava Idol joining in 2021. And then October 2025, we have a new ChocoPie account. So this doc is now breaking into each account individually, starting with the Lava Dio account. If this is not damning enough, just look. The Lava Dio account literally claims, hey, I create rated 18 illustrations using AI tools. They literally claim they use AI, and right in the beginning of this document, we've already seen all the proof that links the Lava Dio account back to ChocoPie. By default, we know this artist uses AI. So these were the Lava Dio account's original art pieces, and then the style shifted into the style of a Japanese artist named Bunchi, where we can see Bunchi's original, and this is the AI-generated version. And this is using LoRAs, which again, LoRAs are like very, very highly specific AI models that are trained off of one artist. It basically completely rips off the artist's art style, which is so nasty. And it sucks that there's more and more of these LoRAs popping up. So now we have Kira Yoop, where Kira Yoop was also posting art in the same style, as you can see, of Bunchi. Their media tab was wiped at one point in 2025, and then their last upload was July 30th, 2025. Also note, Miichi was seen retweeting Kira Yoop's posts. This is another one of the MOs of these accounts, is they will retweet each other. Again, sometimes you can scroll, you don't recognize that it's AI, you accidentally retweet it, and without knowing. But a big thing that these sort of AI Patreon scammers do is they literally retweet each other to grow all the accounts simultaneously. It is what we've seen many, many times on this channel. But now let's delve into Miichi. So these are Miichi's 2 accounts. Again, Miichi 20 is the NSFW one, and Miichi 111 is the regular one. Well, Miichi claims they're 15, which they are not. Here is the proof where they claim to be 15 years old. And here, April 9, 2025, they claim that ChocoPie is their older sister. The doc also adds, to avoid confusion, I'll keep addressing Miichi as a different person, even though it's just ChocoPie role-playing. These are all Miichi's profile photos, which is allegedly AI generated. Also, yeah, they claim to be 15 with an NSFW Patreon. That's so weird. The doc adds, Patreon requires face and ID verification for NSFW accounts. So how did they get away with this? And then because people noticed, Miichi's original Patreon account was suspended. And here are more examples of Miichi claiming ChocoPie is their older sister. So now we have another account called Miuchi Q. OP DM'd that account being like, yo, are you related to the Miichi 111 and the Miichi 20 accounts? And they're like, oh no, I've known about her for a long time. She just copied my username. I don't know what I could do about this. But if you look, their bios look really similar. Another Russian artist recalls how everything unfolded on Telegram, adding, as far as I know, she's also around blank age. When people started actively talking about AI amongst artists, she came under fire too. Basically, when ChocoPie and some other artists ended up on a list of suspected Russian AI users, ChocoPie started trying to befriend some of those AI users, bonding over a shared problem. I'm 100% sure that because of this situation, ChocoPie was heavily inspired by Miichi's story, age, username, and everything else. Now we have Miichi posting this art piece. This art piece caused a bunch of controversy for Miichi, where the AI tag was added to it. And then Miichi went on Telegram and complained April 17th, 2025, being like, somebody added the AI hashtag to my work. What are people doing? What have I done to you? I want to apologize for the art. It was inspired by another artist's work, but there's no copyright on ideas, right? I don't want to see negativity, and I'll ban anybody who's looking for a show and want to see me suffer. But people were noticing, yo, the art piece looks really similar to this art piece from another artist called Haze. And they just felt it was really suspicious, especially knowing, right? We know that Miichi is ChocoPie LARPing as their sister. And because ChocoPie has a history of using image-to-image prompting to put an artist's work into AI and get a result out of it to pretend they drew it, that you could probably safely assume that they took this art piece and fed it into AI to get their art piece. Michi is following the exact same MO that the ChocoPie account does. Every time they get accused of using AI, they come to Twitter and cry and play victim. Where Michi writes, "There were so many accusations of plagiarism for the Narissa drawing. Yes, I've acknowledged this and I was wrong and I feel shameful. I was really inspired and I've already apologized." So here is their DM to the artist Haze. Also, is so victim-y to DM an artist who like referenced their work a little too heavily, right? "I'm sorry I didn't answer you, but I don't want to cause a scandal. My body is too weak for that. Please forgive me again." Huh? What about a "I'm sorry, I'll never do this again"? You know, what about leading with that? And then they added this screenshot of Haze blocking them to try to make it look like the artist blocked them for no reason, basically, like unprompted. Whereas these are the actual DMs. The artist messaged them first. "Hello, it's come to my attention that one of your Narissa drawing is anatomically similar to mine. I thought I'd reach out for clarification. Were you referencing my art?" And then Michi responded, or ChocoPie LARPing as Michi. They deleted the message that the artist sent to try to make it look like they were the victim of the artist rudely blocking them without hearing them out. That's just such weird behavior. So it adds, while Michi's work fluctuates in anatomy and style, her work resembles the artist Qian Dai Yiyu's the most. This is Qian Dai Yiyu's artwork. This is Michi's. Here we have Qian Dai Yiyu and then another Michi artwork. The face looks so similar alongside the bangs and even the highlight. Look at the highlight with the blue in the middle of the shine on the bangs. Got a little bit of pink on either side. And the same thing as in this highlight. That is so freaky. The doc adds that there's a possibility it was just a generic AI model and they just used some elements that is pretty notable in Qian Dai Yiyu's artwork. Somebody had commented, "Oh, your work reminds me of Qian Dai Yiyu," and Michi's like, "Yeah, I'm inspired by her style, thank you." The doc adds that there's nothing wrong with being inspired by an artist unless it means you're plagiarizing their work. And I completely agree. Nothing wrong with being inspired, but don't freaking feed artists' work into AI models, make Laura's out of their art style, and then start printing artworks of their style that you're plagiarizing. That's creepy. So then, in early 2025, some people started noticing weird stuff about the Michi account. And then, April 18th, 2025, Michi posts a speed paint. Here's again, more posts from Michi, basically saying they're not using AI and, "Oh, I'm the victim, don't bully me." So this is a speed paint that Michi posts. And there's a couple things to note. So there is the Clip Studio Paint logo, which means that it was drawn in Clip Studio Paint. Very, very likely. The doc adds that there are other methods that allow you to trace with Clip Studio Paint, but that they also think this is the AR tracing method. The doc adds the sketching isn't suspicious, but the way the hair streaks have no coherence when they're lined, and the precision in the line work itself, and other red flags in other existing art pieces. The doc adds that if the time-lapse was uploaded by somebody without AI tracing suspicions, then it would be less likely to suspect it's traced. For me, the time-lapse on its own still looks pretty suspicious because once again, the artist is kind of drawing things, very confident, bold strokes for the line art for very precise details that don't need to be adjusted. You'll really see this with the face and the bangs if we look a little closely. We have a basic sketch and then kind of the face just, then the rest of the hair, the swirls, everything comes in perfectly. Again, really no need to adjust any of these fine details except shrink the crown of the head a little bit. Again, not impossible, and on its own, it's not a ginormous red flag. It's like a little beige flag where I see that I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Let me see if this artist has other tells of AI. But you see that? Especially because in the sketch, they don't actually sketch the eyes in or the face, but immediately they get the face perfect on the go. I just think that's very suspicious alongside the fact this artist already has hell suspicious other elements to their artworks. So after posting the time-lapse, Michi starts claiming, yep, here's my time-lapse. I draw this myself. Nope. No tracing here. And then a month later, they start complaining about being shadow banned and they make a new account, Misui. Here, there's a new account, Mei-chan, complaining about shadow bans as well in the comment section of Michi's post, which they will be referenced later. August 21st, 2025, Michi moved from Michi20 to Mich111 and just uses the Mich20 account to kind of retweet their stuff. So now we get to the $700 commissions, guys. In September 2025, her half body price was $160. Full bodies were $200. And then 1 month later, October 2025, she raised the price of everything by like $400. So the half body is now $500, which is a $340 increase. The full body is $700, a $500 increase. Now again, I firmly believe artists are allowed to charge whatever they want. You are allowed to set your prices. Please price yourself fairly. You don't often see artists increasing their prices by 3 times the amount in 1 month. That's not very common. Typically, it's a slow increase. And also, that's a ridiculous amount of money to charge when you're tracing stuff to sell. And the doc adds, why trace 4 artworks for 200 when you can trace 1 for 700? So now we have a little intermission. Intermission about Mashiro. Oh boy. Mashiro is an account that I've actually already talked about on this channel, and I will link the video down below because it's a whole doozy with this account as well, kind of following the same thing. Accused of AI, claimed they didn't use AI, and then made a bunch of claims being like, oh, I'm the victim. So we have the history of the Mashiro account. Again, 18 plus Patreon. And look at the timeline. June 23rd, Mashiro makes their first tweet. June 28th, ChocoPie disappears. Oh, how convenient. And then now Mashiro becomes active. July 24th, Mashiro opens commissions. July 27th, ChocoPie retires. So the doc adds the red flags for the Mashiro account. 1. Brand new account joined April 2025. No other socials. If you Google the name Mashiro, there is no existing history of this artist. This seems like somebody who's never posted art online. They have advanced knowledge of anatomy. And despite their advanced knowledge, their line work is sloppy and their rendering is basic. And they only post at SFW or girls in very skimpy outfits. Again, I want to add a bunch of disclaimers. There are artists who have drawn for a very long period of time. They've just never been on Twitter. Typically, if that's the case, you can find other art pieces they posted elsewhere. DeviantArt, Pixiv, Instagram, some past history. Another one, sometimes an artist has drawn for a very long time. They've never shared their artworks. Okay, cool. Well, then they would post a lot of past work, being like, oh, here's a past work that I've done. Here's a work from 2022. Here's work from 2010. Mashiro draws popular characters from media, characters that haven't been around for a very long period of time, like creators that haven't been around since like 2010. Which would explain a lot of time to draw, a lot of time to go develop your skill. And finally, spawning out of nowhere with really great anatomy and rendering skill, like their anatomy, composition, and posing is very complex. They're doing dynamic poses, top down, lower angles, 2/3 angles, whatever. So they're advertising a pretty decent skill level instantly, just spawning. Typically, if a brand new artist comes in, no past history, they look like a beginner or an intermediate artist, They would make some mistakes here or there, anatomy mistakes, whatever. So they essentially started tracing artwork, and then August 2025, they started uploading Gen AI works with a little bit of editing. There were a lot of AI elements in their works, a lot. Stuff melting into each other, hair melting into each other, hair melting into the floor. Like, I have a whole other video talking about everything this Mashiro account has done. People instantly started noticing that it was AI. Mashiro would just hide all the accounts. Here are 2 images. Again, we've talked about this one. Look at all the AI details. The ribbons on the center here, like the skin becomes the ribbon, the fingers melt into each other, the hair melts into each other. The Mashiro account was really blatantly obvious. Again, they were charging hundreds of dollars for commissions. And then Mashiro pulled a whole bunch of moves. They tried charging a 20% on top of the price of the commission to send the speed paint, which is crazy. And then was like, oh, publishing a speed paint for free would be unfair for the people who paid for my Patreon. They literally did every excuse under the sun to not post a speed paint. And again, this was in response to somebody who was interested in getting a commission. They were like, oh, I want to say a time lapse so I could feel comfortable spending my money. Like, wouldn't you want to get more commissions? Like, oh, like, here's some proof. Poof, please commission me. Give me a couple $100. So Mashiro claimed that they would go and make a time lapse. And Mashiro finally posted a time lapse with no comments. So here we can see the time lapses where, again, it looks really, really odd. The doc also adds, and again, remember when people were pointing out, yo, there's like weird stuff for your art. They were like, oh, I used a AI upscaler to upscale my image to 16K, which what the hell? First off, most artists wouldn't put their art in AI upscalers. But secondly, there's so much evidence that it's not the upscaler. There are literal elements that disappear in the other version, right? Like this was Mashiro's original art, and this is Mashiro's art after the upscaler. How does all of the spiral details just disappear? And then more weird details start appearing with your art. Like it adds highlights. And so OP tests it, running Mashiro's artwork through the upscaler that Mashiro claimed they used. I agree, right? They were like, in theory, if you took this art piece, ran it through an upscaler, we should be able to get the exact same results that Mashiro was claiming. It doesn't look the same. And here we get the close side by side. This was something that I also pointed out in my video as well. How did the eye suddenly like fucking cave in more? Whereas this is the actual upscale. And here we can see the side by side, the trace version, the upscaled, and then this is the real upscaled version. Where yes, it is creating some weird behaviors, but not this. Again, this is another artist that's claimed they've used upscalers. Dude, I've talked about this on my channel many times. You guys have probably seen many of videos where I've shown you every single time these guys are claiming they use an AI upscaler, later it comes out, oh, wow, they actually were just using generative AI. What are the odds? Literally, if I had a penny for every single time this happened, I would be able to buy probably at least one Molly tea for myself. And then Mashiro just hit all their comments and just kept posting as usual. But they were doing commissions. And the doc is adding, the main reason isn't to cancel, but to, allow you to save your money so you don't get scammed with AI. Here we have another account, Wow or AcWow. Oh my god, I've also talked about them on my channel, but they were also an AI scammer as well, where they were charging $300 commissions where you can't choose anything. Like all details, outfit, pose decided by me. Probably because if you have a really complex outfit, the AI can't generate it, so they're gonna generate you in a simpler outfit that the AI can actually do. The doc also notes that while Mashiro was going on scamming, Michi didn't upload any art. Suddenly, they go quiet. There were a lot of people who also felt some type of way about Chocopie and Michi's scamming, but they were very scared to come forward and speak up because Chocopie has a history of being very vindictive and threatening and dox other people that have talked about this situation. So now we go back to Michi. Michi, again, refreshing your memory, made this really massive post being like, nope, I didn't use AI. Here's the Google Drive. Here's some proof I didn't use AI. So Teru, who wrote this document, quote retweeted that, basically being like, yo, you're just tracing, bro. Stop scamming. Teru invited Michi to draw together. There is a website called Magma where you can draw in real time with other people. The doc adds, unskilled tracers will absolutely never accept to participate in something like this. I agree. In all these times that we've covered all of these AI tracers, I have yet to see a tracer agree. I have not seen it. Every single time they're like, oh, do you want to do Magma? Like, I will go on anytime you want, so it works for you. Hop on whenever you want. Let's draw together. They always decline. I wonder why. It's a lot of tells. They always decline the Magma every time they post a freaking video of them drawing on their tablet or their laptop. It is the shittiest freaking video in 240p that you've ever seen in your life. And somehow they're always encountering bugs and glitches that literally nobody has ever seen. This is the common MO we always see. So Michi responds, sure, do you have time on Saturday or whenever you want? So again, here are other tracers and other people who are completely declining Magma. Asami, again, referencing Asami, we've already proven Asami is #1 tracer with the fake speed paint, right? Asami was like, I don't need to keep proving myself over and over again because of what people say. I won't participate in witch hunts, blah, blah, blah. Okay, and again, this logic to me is always just so backwards because if you put your mind in that, like, imagine you are somebody who is a legitimate artist who's falsely accused of using AI. Wouldn't you like bend over backwards to be like, yo, screw you guys. Like, I actually draw it myself. I'm going to do everything under the sun to prove that I draw. Let's get in this Magma right now and I'll whip up an amazing piece in like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And now take my name out of your mouth. Don't accuse me of using AI again. Wouldn't you want to get on that Magma to prove it? Like, the amount of like, I don't want to do it. How dare you ask me to hop on this website? This website's probably a scam. So the document lists a couple of things. Michi, aka Chocopie, has done Magma sessions before. 2, Michi would use the best friend Maria, or Nien, as a replacement for Chocopie. Again, Chocopie and Michi are the same person. So this is really confusing, right? But to break it down, Teru invited Michi and Chocopie together to do this Magma. So it needs to be 2 people, right? But because Michi and Chocopie are the same person, they need to bring a fake second person, which the theory is it's going to be Nyan to step in as Chocopie, Michi's sister. And that Michi was going to use AR or one of those like screen texts to trace in Magma. So these were the DMs. And the criteria was, I'll do it on the condition that you and Chocopie will be present and you'll share your full screen capture. And Michi's like, excuse me, what do you mean by sharing a screen? How do I do that? Like a video call? Are we drawing a sketch or a full render of the work? And who will we need to draw? So Teru explains and gets ghosted. Here are Magma sessions that Chocopie had hosted to prove she wasn't tracing. And the doc adds that when somebody wants to cheat, they will find a way to cheat. So here are 3 of the speed paints that were uploaded to that Google Drive Michi has. And the doc adds, different face structure, anatomy proportions, and line weight only within a few months. Essentially, these 3 look like they could be drawn by 3 different artists. How come this person is using so many different techniques within just like 3 months? So in this speed paint, if you saw right there, right, they take a ginormous marker brush and roughly block out a really, really blocky silhouette and then do the sketch on top of it. That is an art technique, you know? And then they go into the line art, the technique, whatever. This one, this Clip Studio Paint time lapse, first off, toggle off this Clip Studio Paint logo, which your choice. But they use a grayscale method here. You know, every artist has their own choice in terms of how they want to paint, how they want to draw, but the grayscale method wasn't used prior. Again, like these are all techniques, but you often don't find artists swapping in between these techniques like only like a month apart from each other or a couple months apart from each other. And then this Procreate time-lapse, no more grayscale. They go from line art straight into putting on the flat colors. Whereas this one, they did a full body grayscale before going into that. And as you can see, all of a sudden, they no longer use the body blocking method with this massive marker brush they used for the first speed paint. And their line arts all look like they're done with different pens. The first Clip Studio Paint and the Procreate one look like it's about the same type of pen, but the Clip Studio Paint one in the middle, the second one, looks like it's done with a different pen than the other two. Which again, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to change your art style by any means, you are, but all of these techniques are pretty specific, and when an artist decides they like one, like they like the body blocking with the marker brush, or they like doing grayscale, they often stick with it, or if they swap, they're consistent. Like they swap to grayscale and they'll do grayscale from here on out. You really don't see them swapping back and forth, piece by piece. It's not the most common. Not to mention other aspects of the rendering that are different. With this Procreate one, they use the airbrush on the skin. So they fully airbrush the skin with a different shade to kind of blend the skin in better, and you don't see that with the first Clip Studio Paint time-lapse. They don't use the airbrush on the skin at all, actually. They use like a different brush to kind of paint in a little bit of shadows, a little bit of cell shady-esque vibe. Like, it's just so odd. So now we get into a massive situation where Michi scammed a VTuber out of $300. So this is essentially what happened. The VTuber had contacted ChocoPie being like, oh, I'm interested in your commissions and for VTuber models. They were quoted a price and they were told to send it to their PayPal under friends and family, which is already humongous scam. And any artist who asks you to do this, I'm going to be honest, maybe the artist isn't familiar, they want to save $4.99 or whatever on the fees. Never pay for friends and family, always pay as goods and services so you can get your money back. So when asked about when they're going to do that work, ChocoPie was like, oh, I don't know, I'll have February free for the work. The VTuber starts bumping it in February with a lot of delays on ChocoPie's part. Now we're in March, ChocoPie is still delaying, and then in the middle of March, they finally send a sketch. And then they start ghosting the VTuber again into May 11th. In April, by the way, ChocoPie claimed they were in the hospital, which is a lie because they were on the Michi account posting AI-generated artworks. So the VTuber then reached out to Michi, thinking that Michi is ChocoPie's sister, not knowing they're the same person. Michi tells the VTuber to message ChocoPie on Discord, where they then get ignored. We're now in September. Mind you, they were told the art was going to be delivered in February. So because PayPal is banned in Russia, artists use a middleman to receive payments. So the VTuber contacted the middleman. The middleman gave the VTuber ChocoPie's Telegram, and they finally get in contact. They were promised a refund November 4th, where again, this is weird. ChocoPie's like, please delete it because it's not even my PayPal, referring to like the public post that the VTuber had made about not getting their commission, and then the refund was sent. And this was only done because of the middleman. Basically, the middleman made an agreement with ChocoPie to get the money back because they were afraid that because their middleman email is linked to the scam, that other artists wouldn't want to use them as a middleman. That they are honest and legit, but it's just ChocoPie, being a fraud. And then ChocoPie never apologized to the VTuber and instead posted the sketch to their Telegram, captioning it as shitty as always, bro. So weird. You're just so odd. So now we have more of the timeline where ChocoPie made the new ChocoPie account after retiring. And meanwhile, while ChocoPie was retired, they were posting AI furry adoptables on Fur Affinity. And this looks really AI generated. So now ChocoPie is back. Once again claiming that they were shadow banned or blocked because their account was flagged as 18+. Now they have a new MO, okay? Because too many people called them out. They realized they couldn't get away with this anymore. So they have a new tactic. Their new tactic is blocking everybody that called them out, hiding any comments that mention any sort of AI usage, and anytime somebody quote retweets their art being like, yo, this looks AI, they turn the comments off. And look, even more plagiarism. This art was done by Seven Haze. How come your art looks exactly the freaking same? They have more side by side. This is the original by an artist named Ringekko Tan. This is ChocoPie's version, which was literally just fed through AI. Also, when people call them out, so here is another artist calling them out, they took a picture of them and made mocking posts on Telegram, being like, go work for Ozone, you redneck. That is so nasty. Using the artist's face, mind you. It looked like they photoshopped the artist's face onto like a chipmunk or a squirrel or something. And with this artwork that they stole from the artist Ringekko, they go on Telegram and they're like, oh my god, I was so excited I posted some art and then I saw Ringekko's art and I don't know why it looks so similar, even though this is the first time I've ever seen their art. I can already feel them dragging me into another scandal. The pose is the same. It is obviously the same character, but the essence of the artwork looks the freaking same. And also, Ringekko posted their art first, 3 days prior to ChocoPie's. What are the odds? So when Grok's edit image feature came out, a lot of artists were rightfully really upset. Chocopie, though, not so much. On their private Telegram, they write, "There's a lot of whining on Twitter about the new feature. Get it through your head that AI rules the world. Here's some content." How ironic these idiots are trying to assert their rights on a social network where AI controls everything. And Elon Musk lets AI practice on their posts. Almost every artist that I've seen was really, really upset about the edit image feature on Twitter, because it allows people an even easier way to take your artwork, put it into AI, and then steal it for themselves, essentially, right? To make edits on it. Most artists who don't like AI do not like that feature. So it's interesting that Chocopie is so gung-ho about it. And here's accounts just blatantly using it to steal stuff. So Chocopie's new art also looks a little bit different now. And there is a Russian Telegram AI bot that a lot of these users like to use. Reason being is because a lot of the US or English AI sites don't take Russian credit cards, but this one does. And here is, a post that says, "Your balance has been replenished by 0 tokens for the purchase of the user you referred." And Chocopie is like, hee emoji reacting to it. And then Chocopie is trying to sell Procreate brushes. Kind of crazy when you're just tracing and feeding people's artworks into AI. And that's what a lot of these scammers do. They fake high levels of art skill and then go and sell brushes, and people buy the brushes hoping they can render like the artist. Again, I'm not blaming you at all for getting brushes from artists. I got a bunch of brush sets from artists I really like. I love the brushes. But my issue with it is when the person is advertising falsely, because most of their work, if not all, is some sort of AI generated imagery or stolen from other people and traced, which means you didn't make it yourself, I think a good brush is really helpful, but you're advertising with traced works. And the doc likens this to Yelenast, who is an artist who's been around for a very long time, who clearly can draw. She's been around since 2015. I used to admire her. Now is kind of just like an eraser artist on TikTok that sells brushes. So Chocopie posts this compilation of artwork they've done over the months on their Telegram. Again, note the traced pieces here. Attached to that image was this massive paragraph written by Chocopie. Number 1, talking about the big art block they had in the 3 months that conveniently the Mashiro and Michi accounts were actively posting. But secondly, a whole lot of victim mentality. Hard times after all these AI and doxing allegations, which I didn't commit. I didn't deserve a tenth of what they wrote to me. There's nights where I sat and cried. I hated open notifications, hated myself for joining this community. But now I look back and understand. I went through hell and came out the other side whole, even stronger than before. And Russian users who spoke English confirmed the translation. And also somebody noted about the voice messages, the translation doesn't show how cruel and creepy what she writes is. Because again, a lot of nuance does get lost in translation, like intentionality and tone, because some things can come out kind of sus and weird, but in translation, it sounds a lot more neutral. Remember that artist that called Chocopie out on Russian Telegram? Well, Chocopie is in the ripe old 2026, on Valentine's Day, mind you, making fun of this artist. "Oh no, they're so sweet and fluffy, they're pregnant. She can draw a circle around AI and have twinks, don't you get it? It's all because she's friends with the admin and her suckers are hanging around her. I don't give an F about this person, even if she has a miscarriage because she's still the effing bitch who loves the wine. Even if they cut her up into 10 pieces, I wouldn't give an F. She's a fucking piece of F. Guys, I'm pregnant, please don't post about me or I'll definitely have a miscarriage, crying emoji." These are crazy. This is actually absurd to write about people. Low-key, you don't even need to show me anything else. Just show me these. Literally, what sane person writes this? You have problems. And I don't mean this lightly. There's also voice messages. More talk about this artist, more wishing them harm upon their child, their unborn child. And the doc adds, all this toxicity is merely because somebody simply told people that Chocopie was tracing AI. You're going around spewing such vitriol about somebody and their child, their unborn child, right? That they're carrying, their baby. You're just evil. So here we have fake improvement posts from Chocopie. By the way, this art piece that Chocopie claims is theirs, right? This was posted on their page. They put their name on it. It's under an account named Vanu. So now we get to Nyanya Kui, aka Maria. They also go by Ton618. So they're besties, they're admins on each other's Telegram shitpost pages, and they also really like Qiandai Yiyu's art. They use it as their profile photo. Chocopie gifted Nyan an iPad and a pencil, supposedly from the money they received scamming. And here, Choco bought this for me. And then Nyan made a blue sky, charging $10 for commissions, and then suddenly bumped it to $300 after she started tracing. These are literal posts, by the way, from Nyan. "Hey guys, does anybody know how you can hide layers in Clip Studio? I want to use AI to trace. Please help me." That was also posted Valentine's Day. By the way, that was posted by the actual frickin' Nyan account. They weren't even doing it on their shitpost account. So the Nyan account also retweets Michi, another indication, right? So Nyan also has no AI in their bios. They have 2 accounts. And Dude, this was crazy. This post was made in ChocoPie's shitpost account. And you can see Nyan was the one who approved this post. ChocoPie writes, in your opinion, is there even one way in this world to prove once and for all you're not using AI? To do something and have everyone 100% shut up? I mean, like, not use AI? That would definitely be one. And people were saying, oh, just post time lapses. So Nyan's bio says, I have speed paint for every art piece. And here Nyan says, this is very offensive, referring to somebody accusing them of tracing AI. I have speed paints for this art, as I do for every art. By the way, those comments were deleted. Weird you would delete your comments about having speed paints to prove that you're innocent. So Nyan joins Twitter June 2025, immediately starts posting high rendering skill art pieces. By the way, one other thing I really want to point out, all these accounts draw the same creators, which is another indication all of these accounts are tied into each other, because why are you guys repetitively drawing the same characters? Maybe it's because you found a Laura of these characters you like, so you just keep using it. Here we have more artwork and more tracing issues, like kind of weird looking hands, looping in the hair, interesting ear anatomy, and the doc adds, ignoring the red flags, an artist at this kind of anatomy level should have some digital footprint. So here's some things that could happen. 1, there is no history anywhere of an artist named Nyan or any username that could be traced back to them. 2, there are records of an artist going by Nyan, and they've been drawing for a long time and just joined Twitter recently. Or 3, there are records of an artist who goes by Nyan, but their art looks different, and their skill level has unnaturally appeared, conveniently, typically around 2024 or after. And Nyan is the third. They actually have a previous alias called Mary Meow, where you can see their username history. Mary Meow, Nyanyakui 1. And here you can see they have a Dambaru and a Twitter profile with old art. This is their 2025 art. It's cute, right? But you can see like there's anatomy issues. The fingers are really far apart, the body positioning, etc. a bit off, and then the clothing rendering isn't like fully anatomically accurate. But it looks drawn by somebody. It looks human made. Boom. October artwork. Immense jump in skill. Suddenly the anatomy is perfect, and suddenly they go and start drawing really busty women. Again, no shade, no tea to draw whatever you like, but all of a sudden, that's what they're drawing. You know what I mean? People who like drawing like curvy women, they also typically have like a history of doing it. So here are some more examples of Maria's old art from Twitter and Telegram. Art. These are all cute and handmade, but you're telling me there's a 1.5 year difference between these two art pieces and this? And again, typically, even when an artist improves rapidly and has a big skill jump, you can still see essences of their old artwork. Like if they have certain color choices they like here in these pieces, these are very, very warm tone pieces. A lot of warm colors being used and a lot of really small like highlight dots in the hair. All of a sudden, all of those style choices are just gone. Interesting. They also use like a very brownish line art in these pieces, which you don't see here anymore. The art style completely changes without progress in between. 2024, 2025, August 2025. It looks completely different. Like these two, you can see the same essences, even for like the body style, right? Both these characters and these ones, they're very like lean, tall, and lanky characters. Boom. All of a sudden, curvy, voluptuous anime woman. Again, no shade, no tea to wanting to draw a curvy woman, but so much difference. And here we have more examples of their old art before 2023. And the doc adds, scammers know if they show their old art, it will make it evident they're tracing. In many instances, they'll make excuses like, oh, they lost their old PC or they haven't posted it online. So here are some tracers with examples. Tracer A refuses to show it. Tracer B claims the account was deleted. Tracer C also claims they deleted everything. I personally also find it a bit interesting that the typical excuse is everything was deleted, because like most of the time I feel like most artists like having examples of their older work to look back on to see their growth. You don't often see people deleting everything. That's like the equivalent of like burning all of your childhood photos. So, I mean, some people do that. But what are the odds everybody who did this also later kind of was exposed for tracing? So Maria has no AI in their bio, and they also have speed paints. And this speed paint here was deleted. Why? Because there's a split frame where you can see that there is an image below that they were tracing off of. Right there, poof. You saw that for a second. They also traced over a cake. And the doc adds, the horn was from a previous art piece that they've done before, and that, the horns are really hard to draw, so reusing old art pieces isn't suspicious. But there's another time lapse, and this is the red flag you can see here. There's a face that appears that they trace. You can see it flashing. They're tracing over one of their older art pieces. And the doc adds, at this supposed skill level, drawing a side face view and eyes should be pretty simple. You shouldn't have to trace over a previous face or eyes that you drew. Evident, and the doc adds that Maria probably noticed after uploading it and then deleted it as a result. And here at the end, the doc adds she probably didn't notice and traced an extra finger. You see, bam, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fingers. And while this was deleted, it was uploaded again to Danbaru. Are there fringe cases where somebody accidentally draws an extra finger? Sure. Accidents do happen, very rarely. But what are the odds you have so many indications and weird anomalies that's happened to you? Like, there's no way every single one of you guys managed to have a meteor fall on your head. Like, there's no way. And the doc basically adds that as well. There are times where real artists add extra fingers. Very interesting, this person has extra fingers and other AI tendencies. They also have to trace faces they've drawn before many times. They also have a Telegram account where they're literally asking people how to hide layers in Clip Studio Paint so they can trace AI. So now we go into the Laura. Qianda Yiyu is a very popular artist, and it's the artist that Chocolate and Nian really like. Nian uses their artwork as their profile photo, and there are a lot of Lauras in Qianda Yiyu's style, just because their art is really popular. Here you can see this is Qianda Yiyu's original artwork, and look at the art from Michi, Nian Yakui, and another account called Yumi. So Nian is taking $300 commissions. That started at, 10, that was raised to 135, and now 300. Many people commission this person not knowing that they're using AI. Again, they're making a lot of errors. Here, the hand that should be visible, you should be able to see some fingers here, missing. More weird and loopy hair happening here. And that Mei Chan account, this is allegedly Nian's alt account, following in Chocopai's footsteps of making a bajillion accounts scamming. Out of nowhere, the Mei account starts interacting with everyone. They're all besties. Oh, look, the Mei account was private and locked, but a lot of her art was re-uploaded. And look, they're all draw like the same 4 people. And Mei immediately starts taking commissions. And look, $100 plus pricing. Full body's $200, half body $150. Which also, Mei Chan's avatar is an art piece drawn by Konpeito. And look at Mei Chan. Mei Chan's Telegram reads a lot like Michi, also claiming they're 15. Remember, Michi claims that they're 15 because their account was based off of somebody who was that age, allegedly. And well, look, Mei Chan and Michi all talking to each other. This is the big thing too. All of these accounts are all like besties with each other. Like, what are the odds that you're an AI scammer, besties, best friends with somebody who is also another AI scammer? With all of these other fringe accounts that are also doing the same thing and drawing the same characters, all your art styles look the same, and you all interact with each other and retweet each other. More examples. And I think you guys get the lesson now, so we can walk through this together. Mei Chan joins Twitter February 2025. 0 digital footprint, 0 previous existence of Mei Chan 200. Immediately starts looking for commissions, immediately makes a Patreon. Immediately starts drawing these same characters as all the other accounts with a lot of errors. Characters that don't match the official design, AI artifacts, and a rapidly changing art style. They go from, heavily rendering the hair to suddenly a lot flatter of a look for the hair. Their face styles and their eye renderings are also all quite different. They go from, very anime-esque look to the eyes, they start drawing hearts for the irises, and then they go into a very simplified look for the eyes. Also the anatomy. Like, what is happening to the hair here? And this hair, by the way, is melting into the arm. This piece, it's completely missing the back arm, just gone. Also, the sleeve looks like it's connecting the 2 arms together. Some elements of the artwork don't match the skill level the rest of the artwork has. Like, look at the shoulder shading. Hey, no shade if you shade like this. But it doesn't look like the rest of the shading, which is done with a very pinkish shadow color, and it's very blended out with, it's like an airbrush or very blended. And you don't see that here. And also, characters wearing outfits that are quite simple. This is again because AI struggles to generate complex outfits. So they're wearing maid outfits, gym clothes, or bikinis to prevent AI from having to generate a lot of stuff. And also, we once again have a 15-year-old with an NSFW Patreon. Michi was a 15-year-old that also had an NSFW Patreon. Suspicious. The document believes that Mei Chan is either Chocopai or Nian Nakui, but probably Nian. The doc adds the reason they think the Mei account is actually Nian's account is because when the Mei account was made, Chocopai had not gifted Nian the iPad yet, which means you would use Procreate. So they were using Clip Studio Paint. And the 2 styles look pretty similar from earlier artworks. So the doc adds, in the current situation, they don't expect Chocopai or Nian to stop or apologize, and that this is to teach people about red flags if you're looking to commission a brand new artist that has no past history of doing artwork. But also the doc adds, there's this new account called Himari with no AI trading in their bio. They joined Twitter February 2019, have no history until December 2025 of posting. They suddenly posted artwork, opened a Patreon and fan box, and started opening commissions for hundreds of dollars. And the doc adds, there are some exceptions. Maybe this person was active on international sites like Weibo, which is Chinese, or like a Korean website. So, it's harder to find their past art history because it really wouldn't show up on like if you're looking it up as an English speaker. But apparently that Milk account is one of these people that don't want to actually show any of their past art history. And here's more context. Somebody was asking for previous work and they're constantly denying. They're like, oh, I can't because I was painting a private project. And they were like, okay, what about previous stuff? And they're like, I only share stuff I'm really happy about. And they're pushing again, like, hey, but like, what about some other stuff? I just want to be reassured I'm getting legitimate art. Do you have any other usernames? And they're like, oh, this is the same account. It used to be permaban. I don't know why. Nobody could find it. And then, so I've been re-uploading old pieces. Here's a couple examples. Well, OP was like, okay, well, how long have you been drawing for? And they're like, oh, 8 years. And then the person is like, okay, so do you have any examples of those artworks? And they're like, oh, I don't know anymore. I don't know why I'm being interrogated. If you're not sure of feeling it, I'm totally fine. I'm not forcing anybody to commission me. Put yourself in the shoes of an actual artist who drew artwork themselves. Why would you go through so much effort to hide every single one of your past works ever? You didn't have a single past piece you like that you could show, or even a single half piece that maybe you didn't like, but because you want this $100 commission, you're just gonna chuck it over anyways. Be like, hey, don't share it to anybody else, but here's it just for you to look at. Like, they had so many excuses. And then look at this. They once again have speed paints that look pretty sus. Where they're drawing no modifications. They basically already know where everything kind of needs to go. The only thing that modifies is like the direction of the hair. But the body is already perfect. You really didn't have to adjust the body pose at all. So the doc adds that the Milk Himari account has a lot of the suspicions, only was active after December 2025, no previous digital footprint. Everybody is drawn in easy clothes, swimsuits, gym clothes, bikinis. For more context, it's a Russian account where Chocopie and Nyan are both Russian. Here you can see their account was connected through Eastern Europe, a non-EU app store. They both really, really like Qiandai Yiyu. Look at all their comments under Qiandai Yiyu's account. And this one's pretty damning. The Milk and Nyan accounts both use the same lace pattern. What are the odds you guys somehow managed to find the exact same lace texture to use? It is possible they both did, but you guys both really like the same artist, Qiandai Yiyu. You both are Russian. Again, I also don't, by the way, I don't want any racism or people being like, oh, like this, that, and the third, saying bad things. Like, obviously not all Russian artists are scammers. It's just these guys just happen to be Russian. But anyways, what are the odds all of you guys use the same lace texture? In the same way, mind you. They use it as like a black texture where they put like a dark kind of like purpley bluish gray beneath it and then put the lace over it, Like, that is how you draw lace, yes, but the technique they do it is exactly the same. They also use the same PNG art accessories here. The doc adds this could just be a random person. Maybe Milk is just really inspired by Chocopie and Nyan. The doc adds that what was really interesting is that Chocopie's Twitter account switched to connected through the US App Store the same time as Milk Himari. And most of the alts swapped, except for the alt account Kira, which the doc theorizes they probably just weren't logged into that account for a while. But look, poof, US, 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 all of a sudden US, 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 US. And the general theory is that they got a VPN. And the Milk Himari account is out there again scamming. They requested this character. This is what Milk Himari gave them. They wanted a simplified version of their OC, but like a lot was changed. The hair is different, the skirt shape is different, the sleeves are different. Like, this is not the same outfit. So then the client asked for some more changes. This pop-up image was like one of the changes requested, like a reference image. Some more reference images provided. And finally, Milk changed it. But there's still errors. The colors are wrong, the dress is still wrong, and the client felt that it was very rushed. How can you not change that, If you drew this yourself, a quick change, just color select the color of the dress so you can get it right. If, you got it wrong this many times. Their doc wraps it up by adding, they don't expect a reply, but they kind of expect them just to do the same thing, make new accounts, rinse and repeat. And the doc adds that they disagree with Gen AI usage due to ethical and environmental issues. They can't stop people from generating or consuming it, which I personally agree. I don't like it. I don't support it, but I can't tell you what to do at the end of the day. I'm not your mom. You can do whatever you want, even if you want to support generative AI. I just don't want to. And the doc adds, the least you can ask from these people is to tag their content as AI and stop pretending they're not using it. And that's what I completely agree about at the end of the day. If you're going to be generating images, which again, don't do that, but these scammers want to do it. They clearly intend to do it. It's fraud to be advertising something as handmade when it's not. Label it as generative AI. I still don't like that they're doing it, but again, I can't stop them, right? I'm not their mom. But they're just out here LARPing as an actual artist. Literal bio, I don't use AI. They do. And they look to be working on an AI-generated VTuber model. The doc also adds that there is a part 2 that will come out with more details being focused on, more visuals. And they talk about how frustrating it is for artists to have their art and style fed into AI to make Laura's of their style. Quote, AI is here to stay, end quote. But those who are doing art and resorting to tracing or heavily referencing AI should consider what they're actually doing, taking credit for the efforts of others and deceiving a supportive community. I hope that in the future, AI tracers move on to create truly unique work instead of resorting to AI. Because this recording is already 2 hours long, I will make a second video covering all this stuff because I do think it is such an extremely helpful document to learn and point out, hey, like this is wrong, this is AI generated, and how you can spot AI generated works so you can go and protect yourself. But to end this off, don't send hate to any parties involved. Do not bully anybody. But this is, again, like I completely agree with the doc, awareness, bro. So that when you are purchasing artwork, you know how to spot a scam. And with that, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this really long video. I truly appreciate it. Sorry, I feel like I look greasier and greasier as the video went on. I have an Etsy if you want to check me out there. I also have a coffee with free resources. This is a top that I bought, but then I added all these studs on here. I want to do more like crafty content on my alt accounts. So I have an alt Instagram, catliente_IRL. I might end up changing the name. We'll see. You can check me out there for some crafty videos and lifestyle videos. And I stream on Twitch 3 days a week. I actually made this on stream. Like I was putting the studs on stream. I stream Mondays and Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. And on Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. PST, I do a podcast with my friend. So I hope to catch y'all there or in another one of my videos. Peace.